So for the last couple of weeks, you've heard me going on about base building and starting up my training by building up my aerobic base. So today, we're quickly going to cover what is your aerobic base, how do you base build, etc., and why is it important. So yeah, I'm going to cover what an aerobic base is, why an aerobic base is important to start out when you're training and running, and how to improve it as part of your training. So let's dive straight in. See, as part of my half marathon training, I've been talking a lot about base building and building that aerobic base back up. So what is it? In its simplest terms, base building is your aerobic base and building up your level of fitness, what you can do at an aerobic level. So until your heart gets to a certain level and you switch over to an anaerobic system. Tonight I am not base building, hence the breathlessness. I'm on a bit of a pyramid run, so I'm definitely jumped into anaerobic now. Without getting into too much science, your body can work aerobically up to a certain point, which means the oxygen coming in is sufficient for your working muscles. Once you get to a certain point, a certain pace, your body switches into anaerobic because you're not getting enough oxygen in quick enough, which generally means you're running at a pace quicker than your system can handle. Yeah, so your aerobic base is basically your aerobic fitness, the level you can run at and maintain aerobic capacity. Mine is generally around the 150, 152 beats per minute, and I'm currently running at 171, doing some bit of speed work, so it's quite difficult to talk and run, hence why I'm a bit breathless. So an aerobic base, like I said, is basically your level of fitness which you can maintain aerobically. Like I say, that varies from person to person, but generally it's your easy running. You can maintain a conversational pace, i.e., unlike now, you can hold a conversation which isn't broken up. You can have a normal conversation like you would be talking to anybody. And that's kind of an idea of when you're running in your aerobic zones, if you can talk comfortably. Yeah, for every runner, it should be a pace you can maintain for a sustained period of time, quite comfortably. And on the exertion scale, so the rate of perceived exertion, I would personally say it's around the 4 or 5 out of 10 mark. So not even uncomfortable, nice and steady, nice and comfortable. You can run for that for an extended period. So that's what is aerobic base. I'm going to get a bit more run done, get my breath back, and we'll cover why it's important. Okay, so I'm coming down the back end of the pyramid now, so I'm hopefully back into the aerobic zone, hence why my talking is a little less laboured. So we've talked about what aerobic bases are and what base building is, but why is it important? Like any project, this is the foundations you're starting with, these are the things you build upon. So again, if the foundations are poor, the end product is likely to be poor. Like I said, it's the preparation phase. The base building phase is preparing for the more intensive training later on. And like I said, if you get a good solid base to start with, you've got a better position, so then build upon that. The limited, or the more limited your aerobic base is, eventually the ceiling will be reached aerobically and aerobically. So again, yeah, without going into too much detail, you've got your aerobic limit, so the higher that is, that pushes that anaerobic limit higher, and then your anaerobic limit, which is the maximum you can run at, again is a bit further away. So if you don't make steps and benefits in your aerobic base, you're going to limit yourself in your anaerobic level also. So yeah, so during the base building, you're building up your endurance aerobically, you're building your leg strength, and therefore the better the base, the better the peak performance at the end. So the higher my aerobic base, the better my aerobic base. That naturally transitions into the faster my anaerobic speed and the faster my PBs are. So we've talked about what it is and why it is. I'll get this run nearly finished and I'll cover how to improve your aerobic base for all runners. Okay guys, run done. So yeah, it probably wasn't the best idea to do a vlog generally, but a vlog about aerobic base building whilst doing a partly anaerobic session. I said I felt a bit breathless in the middle there, so I've put some of the talking off to the end now. But it was wasn't conscious, but it ends up being a decent example of the difference between aerobic and anaerobic in terms of how easy it is to talk. So we've covered what it is and why it's important. So the last thing to cover is how do you improve your aerobic base. Obviously now I've discussed the kind of important points. Every runner should want to improve their aerobic base, because obviously, like I've mentioned, the better the aerobic base, eventually the better your top end speed that you can maintain. So obviously means everyone gets faster. So the better your base, the faster everyone gets. But regardless of ability, obviously if you're a really good runner, if you make additional improvements to your aerobic base, then you'll make additional improvements to your running speed. If you're a beginner and you're not particularly quick, again, the benefits you make and the strides you make forward in your aerobic base, then the strides you'll make in your PBs at whatever distance you're running. The only way to improve your aerobic base is to run within that aerobic base zone. So for most people, for every runner really, it's going to be in if you train to heart rate zones, zone 1 and zone 2. Do not go above zone 2. As soon as you get to zone 3, that's more tempo threshold for pretty much every runner. So again, that's a mistake a lot of runners make, and again myself included. I'm not perfect. I'm improving myself as a runner every time I go out. I'm learning more from other runners, from other experts. So I'm just trying to share my experiences and my understanding of what I've learned along the way in the last 10 years of running. So yeah, a lot of runners make the mistake of setting off with the aim of running easily, and then you're feeling quite good, so you creep into that zone 3 and you maybe dip back out. When you slow down a little bit, then you creep back into it again on a downhill section maybe, and again you're getting limited benefit because your body's continually switching between aerobic and anaerobic states, so you're not getting the full benefit of an aerobic workout. And again, that is common amongst a lot of runners. I make that mistake myself. A lot of runners make that mistake where you set off with the intention of running easily and it ends up being a bit quicker than you expected or you wanted it to be, which you think, well, that's not a bad thing. A lot of people think obviously that means I'm feeling fit, I'm feeling good, that's of benefit. I've run quicker, which means it must be of more benefit than running slower. But that age-old adage of run slow or train slow to run quick, again, you might have heard that and it makes no sense initially. You think, well, how can running slowly help me run faster for races and for PBs? Yeah, especially what we've covered today, that you run slowly to build that aerobic base up, and then later on in your training block, which is what I'm in the middle of now, my half marathon training block, later on now I can start like I've been doing today, start to implement more and more the speed stuff, the more hard efforts and max efforts, and that's now on the back of a solid base, which should put me in a better position to push myself now in these workouts. There's still easy running within the week. I'm not doing every single run, so I run like 4 or 5 times a week. I don't run every run now hard effort, just maybe 1 or 2 of the runs are now tempo workouts or threshold workouts, and the others are maybe on-offs, or there's definitely one longer easy run as well within the week. So the way to improve your aerobic base, without rambling on for too long, is actually stay within that easy zone. So zone 1, zone 2, you train to heart rate. If you're not training to heart rate, you just train on feel, then it's a 4 or 5 out of 10. If 10's like you're going to die within a minute of running that fast, and 1's kind of walking or very, very, very slow running, then like I say 4 or 5, you can picture in your head, it's a nice steady pace. If you run with someone else and you're fortunate enough to be able to run with a group of people or a small number of people, then you should be able to hold a conversation, you should be jogging along, and you should be able to hold a full sentence without having to stop and take a breath like I was earlier, because that's when I knew I was in, obviously I knew I was in an anaerobic state. So if you're in that position, then you can do it by yourself. If you're in by yourself, try and just say a sentence. There's one maybe 10 word sentence. If you can't get it all out without having to take a breath, you're going too quick. You need to slow yourself right down. A lot of smartwatches again these days will give you the option and will basically work out your zones for you. So again, I know I know from my Coros, my kind of not threshold, but that's that position, that point when I go from aerobic to anaerobic is around the low 150s. So once I creep past 150, 152, I'm on that cusp of anaerobic, and then when I get to 160s, I'm in the kind of threshold area, which is where I can run for about an hour, and then above 160, 170, that's getting close to kind of 5k pace, and then anything above high 170s is pretty much max effort, so probably short, sharp interval bursts, short of very short distances like 1k's, 2k's maybe at max effort. So again, if you wanted to work out your heart rate, if you want to look at data and stats, then again you could work out your aerobic kind of level threshold heart rate, and then make sure you stay within that. If you've got under that, if you've got a watch that can give you kind of heart rate, wrist heart rate monitoring, you can keep an eye on it whilst you're running. If not, again, go on feel, and it's 4 or 5 out of 10 for effort. And again, just train on that. It is hard because, again, you probably do feel kind of conflicted as you're running. It should feel easy, that's the whole point of it. So when you're running, you might think, well, I can go quicker than this, and it might be of more benefit. And again, that's the mistake I've made, and a lot of other runners make, because you can go quicker, you want to go quicker, you end up going quicker, but long term you are just kind of stunting your own progress. So try and go slower, try and slow it right down. I say put some music on, deliberately go out for an amount of time rather than a set distance. I say forget about speed. In terms of going quickly, you need to be aware of how fast you're going, to make sure you're going slowly. But again, speed's irrelevant, it's more heart rate. As long as your heart rate stays below the aerobic threshold, you're in them zones 1 and 2. That's when you're getting the benefit and you're building that base right up. And again, to do that at the start of your training, there's plenty of time later on, like I've now got later in this block, to work on the speed and the higher level of speed and threshold work. So that's the kind of a overview of aerobic base building, aerobic base training. Thank you for watching. I'll drop my next half marathon recap in the next couple of days, and hopefully all your running's going well, and I'll see everyone on the next one.